Today I'm going to show you how to get the Merchant Alliance Eyepatch and Hook. Now, since their release in Season 2, these items have been kind of left behind, with adding so much new stock to the clothing shop that they're just getting pushed so far back that they're hard to find, and the fact that the mechanics required to get them are surprisingly difficult to find within the game. So in this video, I'll be going over all of the mechanics related to them, along with the actual items themselves. First of all, these items can be purchased from the normal clothing vendor. They're currently on page 22, and the hook costs 40,000 gold, and the eye patch costs 30,000 gold. But what makes them difficult to get is the fact that they're locked behind Commendations. Commendations relating to the commodity system, a system that has been all but forgotten about since its release in Season 2. So, if you don't know how the commodity system works, basically you can go to any Merchant Alliance representative, and when you talk to them, you can hit Browse Stock, and then hit Resources and Commodities. Then go to the Commodities tab. Now within this tab, you can essentially buy merchant treasure items. You purchase an item, and then you can take it from the vendor. Then you can sell this item to any other Merchant Alliance vendor for a bit of a profit. Now, this is where it gets a little more complicated. So every outpost has what's called a surplus and a sought-after resource. Now, which outpost is which changes every week. There's a journal beside the Merchant Alliance that you can look through that has all the information. So to explain this feature, I'm going to use Plunder Outpost as our current example. If I were to go to talk to the merchant vendor right now on Plunder Outpost, they will offer me the basic stuff: 1 raw sugar, 1 ungraded tea, 1 unsorted silks, 1 broken stone, 1 unfiltered minerals, but no spice, because spice is sought after there, which means if I take unrefined spices there, they will sell for a lot more gold. So ideally, you always want to be selling that resource where it's sought after to make as much money as possible. Now, the other side of this coin is surplus. Now, if I talk to that same merchant vendor on Plunder Outpost, they will offer me all the stuff I already listed, but they will also offer me unclassified gemstones. And because it's in surplus, not just 1 unclassified gemstones, but 10 at a discount. It costs less money to buy it there. So basically, I can buy a ton of unclassified gemstones. Then I could take all those unclassified gemstones and sell them where they're sought after, making a ton of money. Now, just as a note, never sell something where it's in surplus. If I were to sell unclassified gemstones at Plunder, I will make less money than I paid for the unclassified gemstones. So that is the general gist of the commodity system. Now, for the items you're after, the Merchant Alliance Hook and Eyepatch, they're locked behind separate commendations. We'll start with the Hook, which requires the Profiteer of Sought Stock commendation. This requires you to sell 250 items at an inflated price. This means sell that item where it's sought after. So, like right now, if I sold 250 unrefined spices at Plunder Outpost, that would give it to me. Now, for the eye patch, you need Master of Shifted Stock. To get this, you have to make the most possible profit from buying and selling 150 merchant commodity crates. Now, what this means is buy low, sell high. Buy it where it's in surplus, and then sell it where it's sought after. Okay, now let's talk about tips. So quickly, there is a cooldown on when you can purchase items. Each outpost is on a different ticking clock for 5 days. Every 5 in-game days, they will reset. That's 2 hours of real time, by the way. You probably only want to do 1 full loop of every outpost and then cut it there. At least that would be my suggestion. You don't have to do it that way. You can do it whatever you want. Just that way you avoid waiting up to 2 hours. Each server also has its own cooldown, so if you want to keep going, you can just server hop and then continue. Second thing, you probably want to do this as an emissary to make a ton of gold. I would also recommend doing a lost shipment voyage before you actually start doing commodities. That way you can get to grade 5 first, as commodities give very little emissary grade. And one lost shipment voyage should get you to grade 5 if you find the key. Now, the biggest tip, which I probably should mention first, is actually not within Sea of Thieves. It's a website known as Merfolk's Lullaby. This is basically just kind of a really cool Sea of Thieves information site thing. I'm not really sure best how to describe it. But basically, I'll leave a link in the description, top link. You want to go there, and you want to hover over Interactive Map on the left, and then click Trade Routes. And then it shows you this lovely screen, which has arrows going from every outpost showing you what's sought after and what's in surplus. So basically, if I look at this map here, currently, I can see, oh, unrefined spices is green. So I can get unrefined spices in surplus from Daggertooth and then go to Plunder and sell them. What is also worth noting on here is you can see currently Sanctuary and Mora's Peak are in an enclosed loop. Now in this case, I would just ignore those two to make this easier. And with this, I can just click them on the left and then they turn off. It's such a nice website. I highly recommend using this. It's so much easier than trying to read through the guidebook beside the merchant every time you want to do it. Next tip would be plotting your course. So as you can see on Merfolk's Lullaby, you could go from Golden Sands, purchase everything, sail to Galleons, sell all your stuff, buy all the stuff there, and then go to Ancient Spire, and then Daggertooth, and then Plunder, and then Golden Sands again. So on and so forth. Now this is a perfectly fine way of doing it, but what I find to be a little bit better is to do it in a loop, which is basically a loop right now. But I would go from, say, Ancient Spire, pick up everything there, go to Plunder, pick up everything there, then go to Golden Sands, sell, then go to Daggertooth and sell, and then go to Galleons and sell. Just because it may not look like a lot of time on here, but those like blue and green arrows are like 20-30 minutes of sailing, probably. It's a lot of sailing, and it has the same end result anyway if you just go in a circle. Next thing I would say is plot your course before you go. So if I decided I was going to start Ancient Spire, then go to Plunder, then go to Golden Sands, then go to Daggertooth, then end on Galleon's Grave, I now know exactly when I'm going to stop, which both means you won't run into the time gate where you have to sit there for 2 hours waiting, and it leads right to my next point. If I know I'm going to Daggertooth, and Daggertooth needs Unsorted Silk, I can also buy the one Unsorted Silk at Plunder and Golden Sands. And I can do this for every outpost, which basically means instead of having 10 items I can sell, I have 12 or 13. I would actually say you should always do that because it actually does make more money and it makes more sense for the commendations you're going after. As you have to make the most possible profit on 150 items, but you actually have to sell inflated price items 250 times. So it's actually better to buy a whole bunch of stuff at an outpost. Now, if you would rather not plan out your course, you could just buy everything at every outpost. The one problem with that is eventually you have to decide to stop doing circles because you'll never run out of resources. Now, whenever you get to an outpost, speed is of the essence. You want to do this as fast as physically possible. My recommendation for doing this is to figure out which dock you have to park on, and then park your boat so it kind of crashes into the dock a little bit, not too much, and place all your commodity crates on the bowsprit, this thing, preferably before you get to the outpost. Then walk up, pick up the item, and drop it off, and just keep doing that until it's all on the dock. Then you can just run back and forth from your pile to the vendor. It's a lot faster than going onto your boat and off and on and off and on your boat. It's a pain. And trust me, based on how many times you're going to have to go to outposts, this will add up a lot. The next thing is loading up your cargo. When you actually take the items from the vendor, for some reason, it takes, at least for me, like 3 seconds before it gives me the item itself. So you could actually take it and then start running towards your boat, put them in a spot you can harpoon, and then just harpoon it all onto your boat. And then I would recommend sorting them into piles so you don't sell the wrong thing in the wrong place. Now, the very last thing, which just might save you some time later, there are commendations for sailing 1,000 nautical miles on a specific faction's voyage. Because commodity crates aren't voyages, you can actually put a voyage down. So whenever I do commodity crates, I always put down an Athena voyage to get towards the legendary cannons. So I would highly recommend just throwing down an Athena or Order of Souls or Gold Hoarder or even Merchant Alliance voyage, whatever you want. I just would always recommend sailing with a voyage, because those commendations are extremely time consuming to get. And if you can work towards them while you're doing something else, that's so much better. Alright, that is pretty much everything. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments. I will try to answer them as soon as possible, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.